This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Phone thief nabbed in downtown Kingston. An alleged phone thief who was nabbed by an off-duty policeman in downtown Kingston on Tuesday, March 1, has been charged. He is 37-year-old Junior Blair of a Crescent Road address in Kingston. Reports from the Kingston police are that about 4:30 p.m., a man was conducting business along King Street when he was pounced upon by three men. One of the men robbed him of his Samsung A30 cellular phone valued at $200 and 3,000 Jamaican dollars. An off-duty policeman saw the incident unfolding, intervened, and nabbed Blair. He was later charged with robbery with aggravation. St. Mary man charged with murder. 35-year-old Brandon Campbell of Rosend District, Islington in St. Mary, has been charged with the murder of Swin Lawton, which was committed on Saturday, February 26. Reports are that about 2:30 a.m., Lawton was walking home when he was attacked and stabbed in the upper body. Lawton collapsed and was taken to the hospital where he died. Campbell fled the scene but was subsequently arrested at his home in the same community. He was charged on Tuesday, March 1. St. Andrew Street shut down by police over COVID breaches. The Hunts Bay Police yesterday afternoon shut down a community treat in Scott Road in the community of Maxfield Avenue in St. Andrew over breaches of the Disaster Risk Management Act. The event, which was attended mostly by children and residents from surrounding areas, began about 9 a.m. A police team led by Senior Superintendent Kirk Ricketts, commander of the St. Andrew South Police Division, arrived at the location about 4:30 p.m. The police informed that the event was in breach of COVID rules. The news understands that no permit was granted for the event and that the crowd exceeded the COVID-19 gathering limits. Majority of the patrons were not wearing masks. Attendees were searched by the police. Earlier in the day, a police convoy had passed the event without any issues. The promoter was asked to visit the police station at a later date. The heightened security presence is in response to reports of tension in the area. Tears of joy as 20 Jamaican students return home. There were tears of joy outside the Sanctions International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James Wednesday evening as the 20 Jamaican students who were studying in the crisis-hit Ukraine arrived from Frankfurt, Germany. The students fled Ukraine amid tensions with Russia that escalated with a military invasion on February 24. You could see the relief on their faces as soon as we were told that we were about to land in Jamaica, who identified himself only as Lucas. Back in Frankfurt, he said a few of the students embraced each other as they boarded the aircraft. I never knew who they were until we arrived in Jamaica, he said. The students were greeted at the Sanctions International Airport by State Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Leslie Campbell. Only the state-run Jamaica Information Service was allowed in the VIP lounge for a brief welcome ceremony. One of the students was met at the airport by her relatives. She was escorted by the police and the airport security to their waiting vehicle in the parking lot. The student and her parents declined to comment. The others were taken on a bus through a private exit point. The plight of the students grabbed national attention after the Jamaican government offered a loan for them to purchase their airline tickets to travel home. The government has since said it is not offering loans. The students were in Poland for the past 2 days after walking more than 20 kilometers from Lviv to the Polish border. PSOJ warns of fallout in local businesses due to Russia-Ukraine conflict. The private sector organization of Jamaica is warning that the local business environment could deteriorate in coming weeks due to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Global crude oil prices surged to more than $110 per barrel, and the cost of natural gas skyrocketed to a new record in Europe on Wednesday as Russia's escalating military campaign in Ukraine stoked fear in markets about a supply shock. PASOJ President Keith Duncan said the continued spike in oil prices will have a negative impact on local businesses. He said companies are in for a rough ride as they are powerless to stop the expected increase in operational cost due to external factors. The increase in commodity prices, inclusive of oil, which has hit like a high of over $110, would definitely create more difficult business conditions, as we expect that it will have a negative impact on inflation and the prices of goods and services will increase, and that will also have a negative impact on possibly the interest rates, as the central bank could move to increase interest rates again to contain inflation, he reasoned. Mr. Duncan, who is also co-chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, is hoping that the hike in interest rates will slow price increases. Everything is around the demand and the supply, and the increase in the interest rates will have a slowing effect on the economy and decrease the demand. So that will have a dampening effect on the ability to increase prices. Also, a lot of the price increases are driven by external factors, supply-side constraints, and now the huge increase in oil prices. So there's very little that businesses can do because their cost sides are being significantly impacted by external factors, he explained. Norwood man gets 20 years for gun crime. A 40-year-old reputed violence producer who pleaded guilty for his role in an $8 million heist in the upscale Westgate Hills community of Montego Bay in May 2020, will spend 15 years behind bars before being eligible for parole. Serial robber Lucan O'Connor of Flanker and Norwood St. James pleaded guilty a month ago and was sentenced on Tuesday to 20 years imprisonment for gun possession and 19 years for robbery with aggravation. O'Connor was accused of robbing a Chinese national. Two of his alleged accomplices were shot and killed by the police in a reported firefight at an area in Green Pond. 2 guns were recovered at that scene and an undetermined sum of money, the police reported. The case against O'Connor was strongly supported by DNA evidence and the CCTV footage, the judge who presided concluded when the defendant appeared in the Western Regional Gun Court on Tuesday. He was also found guilty in another matter and is sentenced to 10 years for illegal possession of firearm and ammunition. His sentences will run concurrently. According to court documents, O'Connor was arrested in February 2021 when he was found in possession of a firearm at his home in Middle Road, Norwood. Senior Superintendent Vernon Ellis, who heads the St. James Police Division, credited the work of Area 1 crime scene investigators for amassing incontrovertible evidence. When the robbery took place initially, the police did a tracking of the robbers. Another operation was conducted on the car that the perpetrators used. Forensic work showed O'Connor's involvement, Ellis told the news on Tuesday. DNA also connected O'Connor to the weapon found at his home. Ellis said that O'Connor, a notorious violence producer, had been previously detained under the state of emergency, which elapsed in August 2020. After his release, he committed that crime, said the divisional chief, noting that O'Connor had been set free then, owing to the absence of evidence at the time of his detention. The police commander said he hopes that the case will mark a turning point in the justice system's determination to rescue Jamaica from a syndicate that featured in several shootings. He is confident that society will be safer with O'Connor behind the bars. Ellis has also urged the law-abiding citizens to trust the system and not to resort to vigilante justice. It is my dream that his fellow colleague, who is awaiting his date in court, will receive double the sentence, the senior cop said of a reputed accomplice of O'Connor's. He will not be missed in this parish. Sanctions against Russia rest with individual nations. The Caribbean community Caricom has left the possible imposition of sanctions on Russia to individual member states following hours of intense deliberation on the second day of the 33rd intersessional meeting of heads of government in Belize. The decision comes amid an avalanche of sanctions from the European Union and the United States, including the banning of Russian flights from airspace, the shutdown from the global payment system, and the freezing of state and personal assets. We discussed the issue of Russia at length. Caricom felt that that is something we should do as individual countries, Chairman of the regional bloc John Antonio Bersinio said in response to a question during a Caricom Summit press conference Wednesday evening. We have to decide what kind of sanctions, if any, we can take as countries and not as Caricom. Hours after Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a special military operation in Ukraine last Thursday, Caricom issued a statement condemning the move, noting that Russia's hostilities ran counter to the principles of respect for sovereignty. The conflict between the two European countries first reached crisis proportions in 2014 with Russia's annexation of the Crimean Peninsula after the ousting of pro-Moscow president. Pressed by the news on Caricom's plans to assist the member states absorb the economic shock from the war, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley noted that the road ahead will be tough for the region. Russia supplies more than 10% of the world's oil and, combined with Ukraine, produce 30% of global wheat. Ukraine and Russia are also major source markets for corn and soya. Mottley said regional heads of government agreed on Wednesday to establish a Caricom Economic Recovery Transformation Subcommittee that would include the Caribbean Development Bank, the Caricom Development Fund, and the Caricom Commission on Economy. Mottley, who chairs the committee, said leaders have recognized that the multiplicity of issues will present tremendous difficulties and challenges to the region. The increase in energy prices is clearly going to be a challenge for us, but I also expressed a concern with respect to freight costs and the supply chain, said Mottley. Russia's week-long invasion of Ukraine has caused the price of fuel to shoot to the highest in nearly a decade and has further imperiled global supply chain woes. That is expected to exacerbate inflation and suppress growth. Mottley urged the member states to urgently increase food production to cushion the imminent fallout from the Russian-Ukraine crisis. We recognize that equally we have to continue engagement with the international financial institutions as well, said Mottley. Let us be clear, we in the region have increased our debt largely as a result of us fighting this climate crisis. It has therefore left us capable of absorbing the shocks with respect to this war in Ukraine than we might otherwise be. She said that it was critical for Caricom to raise with international financial institutions and the G20 countries the extent to which the climate crisis facing the region has derailed it from its development trajectory and the attainment of sustainable development goals, including the elimination of hunger and poverty. So to that extent, it's going to be a difficult and a challenging period, but it is not impossible for us to do the things that can boost the economic activity, said Mottley. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.